Hello, YouTube friends. Hope all is well with you today. You're probably wondering what's going on with the title of this video. Why would I say something like, don't get married? Where's that coming from? Because in Genesis, God told Adam and Eve to be fruitful and multiply. And in Ephesians chapter 5, we read about the husband and wife being joined together and how that's an example of Christ and the church. So, what's going on here? Well, you may not realize it, but one of the greatest apostles of all time said, don't get married. Maybe you're not aware of that, but in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, we're going to read a few scriptures here. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 7, I wish that all of you were as I am, but each of you has your own gift from God. One has this gift and another has that. Now to the unmarried and the widows I say, it is good for them to stay unmarried, as I do. But if they cannot control themselves, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. So apparently Paul wasn't married, and he's suggesting here at the time that he's writing this letter that if one's not married, that they shouldn't get married unless they burn with passion. Then they should, so they wouldn't be tempted by Satan, he actually says in some of these verses here. I'm going to skip on down to verse 26. There's a lot within the verses there that he talks about regarding marriage and divorce, but my key point here is he said don't get married. In verse 26, he says, because of the present crisis, I think it is good for a man to remain as he is. And he's speaking of a man that's not married. Because of the present crisis. What crisis could he have been talking about? This was written probably 55 to 60 AD, something like that. He's talking about the crisis that they were encountering with the persecution of the Christians that was going on. And then in verse 26, again, because of the present crisis, I think it is good for a man to remain as he is. And then we skip on down to verse 28. He says, but those who marry will face many troubles in this life, and I want to spare you from this. And look what he says in verse 29. What I mean, brothers and sisters, is the time is short. What does he mean the time is short? This was written over 2,000 years ago, and I'm still here. So what could he have been talking about? He said the days that he was living in, and the days that the days of those who are reading his letter, the Corinthian church, that they were living in days that were short. He says, from now on, those who have wives should live as if they do not. Those who mourn as if they do not. Those who are happy as if they were not. Those who buy something as if it were not theirs to keep. Those who use things of this world as if not engrossed in them. For this world in its present form is passing away. What a great picture he gives us there of what is going on. He says the world in its present form is passing away. You see, Paul was living in an age that he referred to as this age. It was this age when he was writing this letter, and he was looking for the age to come, as all of those that he was writing to were as well. So it appears that Paul was saying don't get married because the times are extremely hard that we're living in, and they're going to get worse. And it would be best for you to stay single and not get married. Again, I'm going to read verse 29 to 31. What I mean, brothers and sisters, is that the time is short. From now on, those who have wives should live as if they do not, those who mourn as if they did not, those who are happy as if they were not, those who buy something as if it were not theirs to keep, those who use the things of this world as if not to get engrossed with them. You know what Paul is saying here? He's saying, hold on loosely to this world and the things of this world, because as he closes out this verse 31, for this world in its present form is passing away. You may have read these verses before and put this on the shelf and said, what's Paul talking about here? Don't get married, and it's better to stay single, and to hold on loosely to the things of this world. And what did he mean by this present form of the world is passing away? He was saying that they were living in a transitional state between AD 30 and AD 70. They were living in a transition from the old covenant to the new covenant, from the old age to the age to come. You know what? They were living in the last days. Many years of my life, I thought I was living in the last days. And then a little while back, I discovered that the last days have gone. There's no last days coming. This world isn't going to pass away. The age that Paul was living in at that time passed away in AD 70. So that world in its present form passed away in AD 70, and we've been living in the new age since then. The last days finished off in AD 70. If you could grab a hold of this, if you haven't, I believe you could be extremely happy with your religion if you knew that you weren't living in the last days, looking for tribulation to come, the world to end, and a one world government governed by the Antichrist who wants you to take the mark of the beast. No, that's not happening. So the reason I titled this video, Don't Get Married, is because that's what Paul said in the last days that him and his churches were living in. Thanks for watching this video. Have a blessed day.